Dun 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 dun. You came in like a really weird time. Dun 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 dun. It's really hard to know two people because whenever you hum the Doctor Who theme, you immediately go into the ooh and then you forget what what carries on after that. Yeah, and there's all different arrangements, and I was like, which one should I do? Should I do the current one for the new series? I can't remember how that goes because it's not very good.
It's got.
Oh my god, I hate it. It's disgusting. This is like my least favourite theme tune, the current one. I hate the breathing so much. It's even worse at the end, in the ending titles, and it ends so abruptly.
It's because the new theme is just so woke. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. I don't mind the visuals. I quite like them. But God, I hate the music so much. But I guess it's because Murray Gold has done so many of them. Like the 2008 one is the best one, but he did 2005, 2008, which isn't very different. Then he did the 2010 one with Matt Smith, which was I hate, but people quite like it. I think it's dreadful. And then 2013, which isn't very good. And they did Peter Capaldi's one in 2014. So it's like he's done so many different ones that he has to do different arrangement.
Yeah.
And he peaked in 2008.
That's when I peaked as well. On that note, welcome to our second bonus episode for Doctor Who December. Crazy. You can't see all of our viewers, but Matt just did a soy face. You know, like the meme where he opens his mouth and points? That's what he did when I said Doctor Who December.
I love Doctor Who. I wish it was Doctor Who every month, like in the 60s. Every week, Doctor Who.
Could be Doctor Who.
Doctor Who every Saturday of the year.
So we've repurposed our first episode. So ignore the fact that we haven't used our gimmicks there, but that's also part of Doctor Who December. But this week we're talking about the Wild Blue Yonder. Not the Wild Blue Yoda, because that was a good Yoda noise.
I should have rewatched it really because I watched it and I had very strong opinions on it, and then since thinking back I'd be like, I think totally different about that episode than I did when I first watched it. So I probably should have given it a rewatch. But what did you think? That's more important.
I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
In which case, shall I say what I thought? So,
yes.
On reflection, I probably would have really enjoyed it if it wasn't a 60th anniversary special. Because, as a preamble, right, so they, in terms of the marketing of this episode, they barely did any. It was barely in the trailers.
Yeah.
And Rusty Davis commented on
it. Do you in the trailers?
No, you don't. You see them like in the spaceship at the start a little bit, like you see when they land in the TARDIS and then it leaves. Like there's, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, you see a picture. Yeah, the robot on the poster, but that's pretty much it. And so it basically led everyone to think like, okay, so that's the very first few minutes, and then the rest of it is just totally a secret and it's totally different. And they will talk, like Rusty Davis would talk about how like they intentionally want to keep it secret, and so it really hyped up a lot more than any other episode of the series. And so I went into it thinking like, right, 60th anniversary special. I also saw like a fake rumor from a otherwise quite reliable source, saying that the episode
was your friend.
Yeah. No, but like it was from the same sources talking about stuff from the previous episode, which was true.
That was Alistair down the pub.
It was. But it was, so that said, like the villains were evil version of Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, and I was like, that's brilliant. I want to see that so much. It's 60th special, so multi-Doctor is like a tradition for like anniversary specials, and that's a different take on it. And I thought, that's great. I'd love to see that episode. And so I was hyped going to it. I was like, this is incredible. I love Peter Capaldi. He's my favourite Doctor. Matt Smith's great. And seeing evil versions, fantastic. When we had like 10 minutes and basically nothing had happened, and another like 5 minutes, nothing happened, and the villains come in and they're not that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they still take the form of them at the end from the Doctor's memories. And it was still going. It's like, okay, no, they're still just Dave Tennant and Catherine Tate in the same sets. And I was like, okay, this is really, really underwhelming for me.
Okay.
And I get that is not necessarily the fault of the episode. I think that it was marketed totally wrong. I think if it was like an episode 8 of like a 13-episode series, or it was somewhere in the middle, it was just a normal weekly episode, it would have been great. I would have really enjoyed it. It was sort of like Monster of the Week, a sort of midnight style, like slightly creepy episode. I do think it could have been a lot creepier, but I'll go into that.
Yes.
I think if it wasn't like one of 3 big specials with returning cast and like a big deal thing, then I would like it a hell of a lot more. But I think for a 60th anniversary, you need 3 blockbusters, really. And I think you need to revel in the nostalgia. And then when Shooting Out with series starts, we can start afresh and we can do stories like this. But I don't think it came at the right time, personally.
So you were tripped up by expectations and leaks.
I think so.
For this episode.
Yeah. But I think... But I don't... Ignoring the leaks, I think the expectations is I think it's reasonable to expect for an anniversary special to have big things for the whole history of the show to happen. Like, I don't like how it's just I don't like how it's just Dave Tennant and Catherine Tate. Like, that's my favourite era of the show. I love it, but I don't feel like they've really recaptured the magic fully. Even seeing Wilf again, I love Wilf to death. He's like my favourite character, but I was kind of like, this isn't the same. I even got more out of like Spider-Man No Way Home, even though I care about them that considerably less, which is really weird. I think it's weird seeing David Tennant and Catherine Tate again because, yeah, they had the whole thing where Donna forgot, but the story's still very neatly concluded, and so it's weird to bring that up again. And it doesn't feel the same. It feels like unnecessary to me for a show which is all about change.
I was most surprised that they wrapped up the old Dr. Donna thing at the end of the Meep episode. It would have made sense if that was carried through all 3 episodes and then was the climax.
I do agree, but at the same time, what? So we just see Donna who doesn't remember him. I'm not sure that would be as interesting.
Or she remembers, and then this episode happens, but it's still involved in the plot. That she's still got a bit of Doctor in there or something. So it's still like threading these 3 together.
Well, I mean,
so
they mention
like
it briefly. She remembers the terrible Jodie Whittaker episodes about the flux and stuff, and the Timeless Child. Oh God, I wish they just ignored that. I guess it's kind of. I guess it is probably for the long haul. If Rusty Davies can come up with some good like ways of retroactively making it good, like how Dave Filoni like retroactively made the Star Wars prequels good with the Clone Wars. Like if he can do that, fair enough. But I personally would have just never addressed it ever again.
You see, as a arguably a filthy casual who only watches good things.
Oh yeah, I don't think you've even seen either of those things.
I've not seen it.
So the Timeless... I'll tell you what they are then. So, they mentioned the Timeless Child and Flux. Timeless Child is the series 12 finale. It reveals there are loads of Doctors before the first Doctor.
Boring. Don't like it.
Boring. The whole episode is just the Master like basically giving a PowerPoint presentation and just explaining all this lore. And it's like, well, this isn't a story. This is just lore. It's like the second Fantastic Beasts film.
Less interesting.
Way less interesting. And she's like a chosen one. Like the Time Lords chose her to do all this stuff. So don't care. No. Not interesting at all. Get rid of that. The Doctor's meant to be like the worst Time Lord. The most human Time Lord, the weakest because of the empathy, and then you just made them so important. It's terrible. I hate that. Ignore it. Forget it ever happened. Or retcon it entirely.
Star Wars did.
Yeah. And then Flux was... I think Flux is the most watchable of the Jodie Whittaker era, but it's still like an absolute goddamn mess. The last few episodes
is that the one with Rashenda?
Atrocious. It is, yeah. She's the main villain, yeah. Yeah, because I spoke to her about that. I was like, I was watching Doctor Who the other day, and I didn't recognise you when I first watched it. It's you. And she was like, yeah, they turned me into a big tit. A big blue tit is how she described it, yeah.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to look it up. But this is Rashenda, who we worked with on Hijack, the Apple TV Plus show. She was one of the lovely cast, so that was quite bizarre.
But yeah, Flux basically, it ends with... I think it was meant to be like the whole universe apart from Earth, pretty much, but they changed it to be like half the universe. Gets destroyed. It never gets undone. It never gets talked about ever again until this episode. Like, Jodie Whittaker had a few episodes after that, and they never addressed the fact that like the whole rest of the universe had been destroyed, and then they just mentioned more planets, and they just sort of ignored it.
Great, okay.
It's just the laziest writing you've ever seen. And it was just, I think that era should have really been forgotten. But I do like how they actually, and also like Jodie Whittaker's Doctor didn't sort of give a shit about any of that. Because like, it's the way it was written, like didn't really have anything to say about the fact the whole universe was destroyed. And so, yeah, seeing David Tennant's Doctor really feel like he'd taken a toll from it was...
But enough of the preamble.
The general direction of the way they take
the episode. The episode itself... So, you start with the TARDIS has broken because Donna dropped a coffee on it, and it crash lands into a ship. But but there's no one in the ship except a robot, which takes a step, an amount of time, a long amount of time. It takes one step, and it's down to the Doctor and Donna to figure out why the ship is there, why the TARDIS leaves, because there's a threat, what the threat is, and just general Doctor Who shenanigans, really.
Yeah, I thought the setup is very like, oh, we've seen this 1,000 times before. Like, they land on a spaceship, there's no one there.
Yeah.
What's happening? That's not new to Doctor Who in the slightest, and that's almost why, right from the get-go, I was like, well, hang on a minute. For a 60th special, like, why are we doing such a archetypal episode? But yeah, it progresses from there.
It reminded me a bit of the Vashta Narada episode.
Yeah, they arrive in a library and it's empty and wonder why. That's Girl in the Fireplace was sort of the main one for me. They arrive in a spaceship, there's no one there. Why isn't there anyone there? They find some weird things like a 18th century fireplace. Yeah,
I think it gives an opportunity for them. The first episode, you're not overly focused on the Donna and Doctor and their relationship. Partially because you're introducing a lot of new characters in the form of Donna's family, and Donna doesn't recognise the Doctor, so it's a different relationship to the one.
You don't see the Doctor Donna dynamic in that.
Yes, but as we mentioned, the end of the first episode of the 60th anniversary, Donna regains her memories and it's back to normal. So this is an opportunity for the Doctor and Donna to kind of harken back to that previous Tennant era, which was very nice. I do think they bounce off each other very well.
They do.
They have great chemistry.
I feel like David Tennant's playing the part differently, though. Like, he sounds posher to me. He sounds much posher. Yeah. His voice sounds totally different. Like, as soon as I noticed that, I was like, well, he literally sounds totally different. I don't know, he just sounds like...
He should have been Scottish.
He's talking more like... Yeah, before he was like, yeah, well... And he just made stupid noises the whole time. He's like, yeah, how's it? He's doing all that. And then he's like...
This is coming from someone who has impersonated 14 of the Doctors.
Yeah, well... I didn't do all of them, but we did the 11. Shall we go from the very beginning, actually? Isaac Newton.
Yes.
Because...
Weird place to start.
Yeah, and I'm still not entirely sure why they did that. I think, was it just so we could see one little mini adventure with them while we're there, and for one recurring joke where gravity gets renamed as Mavity?
Does it have any bearing on the next episode, do you think? Because they have to return it and fix it back
maybe in Ncuti Gatwa era, but I feel like next episode there is so much going to happen in it.
So we start with Isaac Newton and that little bit. And then we get to this spaceship. The Doctor tries to fix the TARDIS because it crash lands and is spewing fire. But in the process, he loses the TARDIS, which I can't remember. He uses a term in every episode.
It's the HADS. It's the Hostile Action Displacement System Service. Yeah, they it's in loads of episodes.
Cool. So that happens because it detects something hostile, but it also has the sonic screwdriver in the door, so it leaves the Doctor and Donna stranded in a ship without the TARDIS, without the sonic screwdriver. So it's really back to basics. They don't have any MacGuffins.
The thing is, so I am well up for getting rid of the sonic screwdriver or just barely using it, because I think it really, especially like Matt Smith and Jodie Whittaker massively overused it, and it just got them out of.
You want.
Yeah,
it's boring.
But the fact they got rid of it. I thought it was going to get interesting, and then you still have the Doctor like typing like mad on computers and doing anything he wants. So he's still like massively overpowered and stuff. Yeah. So it doesn't really change anything. I'd rather he doesn't have the sonic, so he has to like MacGyver together things. Like that would be pretty cool, but we didn't really get that.
It reminds me a lot of, I really like the Batman animated series era of Batman, because it's that like period where you can set a character like Batman where he doesn't have like AI. He doesn't have a computer. He has to be a detective, and he has very minimal gadgets, and like he might have a tracking device, but he still has like grappling hooks and has to drive everywhere, and doesn't have a rocket to get him somewhere instantly or any of that rubbish. Because you need to strip it back to let the character shine. They need to come up with tangible explanations and discoveries on their own that aren't I could solve this with a sonar that can see through walls to see where the Joker is.
I hate it when the Doctor is like massively superhumanly clever and good at doing anything. I find it so uninteresting.
Like Sherlock.
And even like Sherlock. So something they do a lot in Doctor Who, like in the modern series, is like the Doctor will step out the TARDIS and will just like lick their finger, put it to the air, and be like, "Oh, we were in Devon in 1582," and it's like. And it's meant to be like they're just really clever at deducing it, and that is so boring. Like, if you tell us how they work everything out, that's interesting. But they do a lot of shit like that, and like, yeah, they'll just, oh, there's a computer there, oh, they can do anything because they know how to do anything with a computer.
Yeah,
like I want the writers to be clever enough to tell, like, if they tell us like, oh, he did this and this and this, you won't understand it, but trust us, there is a really clever human could do that.
Some logic behind it.
So it is possible, and he's really good at it. But it's just I didn't like it in the last episode either, when he's just flicking all the switches in the spaceship to make it like crash.
Yeah,
it's like, well, I could do that if you just pulling all the things out.
How he uses the sonic to make like a shield.
Oh, I hate that too.
Shield to.
Yeah, and he had like a massive like hologram thing as well of what the rocket looked like. Don't like that either.
It really is back to basics in this episode. So they bugger off, and it leaves Doctor and Donna to investigate what is happening. So they need to find out where they are, what the ship is, and what this hostile force is. So they walk down this long corridor and see a robot that, when accompanied by a single phrase and a reconfiguration from the ship, the robot takes a step. So that's our first indication of this almost mystery-like episode.
I still never understood why it all like rotated round, apart from to get them to climb on it and then fall into different locations and get split up.
Yes, yeah.
I never knew why they.
I think they explained that it's reconfiguring itself into self-destruct mode. That's
okay, but why are all the tiles spinning round? Like,
just because. So Doctor and Donna walk down this long, shifting spaceship to the cockpit, and this sequence is where we first get an indication of who our Monster of the Week is. What happens?
Up until then, I was like, this is going way too slow for me. You need to pick up the pace. And then they did, and then they're in two different scenes, and you're thinking, like, are these, like, consecutive, but they're intercutting them to make it a bit more interesting, and then you realise there's two Doctors, two Donnas, and they're having conversation with each other. One of them isn't real. Cool. That was good. And then the reveal of, like, my arms are too long. That felt like another iconic sort of Rusty Davis, or actually Stephen Moffat did Hate You Turned Out the Lights, but stuff like that. All the Are You My Mummy? Also Stephen Moffat, actually. For those sorts of, like, Doctor Who lines that become put on a T-shirt and all that people quote all the time.
Did you see the behind the scenes of that?
Yeah, the big prosthetic arms.
So good. I love it. I love it.
And they've got like contortionists playing him.
Yeah, brilliant. That's what I love to see. I'm not blown away by huge CGI. Spaceship
CGI in this
shifts
episode,
every 30 seconds.
Yeah, this CGI in this episode is some of the worst I've ever seen in Doctor Who. I think because they were so ambitious, they were like almost more ambitious than they've ever been. Yeah, that they just don't have the budget. I know they've got more Disney money, and now it's just still not enough.
I was speaking to one of my good friends who is a Whovian, perhaps on the same level as you, Matt.
Okay.
And I was speaking to them, and something interesting they said was that his writing style is not complemented by a higher budget.
No, it's not. No, I think what I love about his first era is how it's like a kitchen sink drama mixed with like sci-fi, and that balance. Like, I watched Christmas Invasion this morning, great episode, and I think his best ones are when it's the Earth getting invaded and showing the families of the companions, how they're normal people, how the mixture of like humanity, and seeing the stars and stuff. Rusty Davis is good at human stuff. And so, this isn't
grounding
really...
it, adding the heart to unfamiliar sci-fi places.
And he wrote Midnight, which is very good, and Gridlock, but this isn't normally the sort of thing he'd write, and it's not. It definitely isn't his strength.
So we get introduced to our monsters this week, who start off as bizarro versions of the Doctor and the Donna, and the Donna. And that leads into a chase in which we discover that they are shapeless, massless, formless beings from past the edge of the universe that are learning to copy the Doctor and Donna 100%, and they're in the process of trying to figure out this shape and form and memories and thought.
I mean, the whole episode is basically a mystery. I don't think it was a very well written mystery, though. I think a lot of it was just you couldn't work it out, and the Doctor just worked it out through bullshit, and then he told you. Yeah, like the countdown. We never worked out the countdown through clues, really. It was more the Doctor was just like, oh yeah, these are what these words mean. I just worked it out. And it's like, okay, but I don't know. It was very strange to me. Like the conclusion of the whole thing also was, it's jumping ahead a bit, but it's just the Doctor just knows, and that's not interesting to me. It's, he gets the wrong Donna, and then he's like, oh no, your arm is like a fraction of a millimeter too long. So I knew it wasn't. And it's like, well, that's shit. That's not interesting at all, because we can't tell as the audience. And also, I thought when he took the wrong Donna, I thought it's a clever plan. He needed her on the TARDIS for some reason, and then he had something, and it was set up, and I wasn't paying attention. But no, he just made a stupid mistake, and then he undid it straight away. Literally just to have some stakes, so we think Donna might die.
So we figure out that that their plans, the monsters' plans, are to copy Donna and Doctor completely, to trick the TARDIS into thinking that there's no longer any threat, to then hijack the TARDIS. They work on Freddy Krueger logic, in that they need to frighten our characters to make them think faster in order to copy them faster, and copy them 100%. Which is how we find out that the captain of the ship completed suicide. They killed themselves, so they couldn't be copied, and so the outer space, edge of space shape-shifting things, couldn't figure out. They called them the what? Sorry,
the not things. I think they called them
the not things.
Yeah.
So they couldn't figure out what the captain had done, and so it's revealed that the captain had set a self-destruct timer for the ship to kill the not things, but done it extremely slowly, so they were unable to work out what was happening.
Yeah, I didn't get why it was extremely slow.
I don't know. I may be completely wrong. This is how I interpreted it, was that because they process everything so quickly that they're changing and reading thoughts and all that jazz.
They just don't even really register it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, there was the mystery of the airlock. Airlock opened 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And the Doctor and Donna assumed that's how the not things got on board, but I've personally just assumed that's how the crew got off, and so it was meant to be a twist. They're like, oh no, that's not how they got on. That's how the crew pilot left. And so, well, that's what I thought it was. I think the whole episode in general is people are saying it's really brilliant, and it's it's all right, but I think it's been done a lot better in a lot of other episodes. And I really, the whole thing lives and dies by the mystery of it. Really, I mean, it's a mystery and a horror, and I think the mystery doesn't really work. Amora, and the horror doesn't. The horror might work for kids, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah,
I think it should have been.
The issue is, as Whovians, such as yourself, I think it's different because you have such almost an encyclopedic.
Well, I immediately just think here's another episode.
Yeah, so you've got you've got such a wide library of things that you're pulling from. But as a filthy casual, I just feel like we have been done as an audience so dirty for so long that it's nice just to have a story.
Well, I do agree with that.
Where we have our characters interacting. It's a fun little romp. It doesn't make me sad.
No, that's true. I know I shouldn't complain too much because it's the best Doctor Who's been in 5 years.
Maybe you should check out that clickbait thumbnail we have that says that. Our conclusion. What was the conclusion? I know we briefly touched on it.
Oh,
so the robot reaches the button.
Oh, it starts self-destruct. They're running away from it. The Doctor grabs the wrong Donna.
It turns into a Michael Bay film.
Yeah,
it turns into Terminator 2.
Yeah, because they're in a forklift, but it didn't have a fork on it.
Yeah,
and they're running and getting big. Yeah, just a lift. Yeah, the CGI was the worst ever. The green screening was just atrociously bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
don't know why they needed that big
was...
corridor set. They could have just done it in like a small like spaceship.
What I thought was interesting were the number of sets that were just used for a scene. I was like, wow, they do have Disney money.
I mean, you can always tell that in Doctor Who when they use the same sets. Like the Temple of Peace in Cardiff is in it about every year. Like it's Platform 1 in like Space Station at the End of the World. It was it's in Let's Kill Hitler. It's in Cold Blood. It's in it's in loads of them. It's in like Sarah Jane Adventures. It's in everything, like loads of times. And they just reuse sets all the time. And like in Series 9, I remember there's like a corridor like which they use in 2 different episodes. I think Sleep No More and Under the Lake.
Your knowledge of Doctor Who is like my knowledge of football players.
Oh yeah,
it's just infinite. That's
infinite.
Amazing.
Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
Oh, don't get me started. So yeah, the episode ends with a nice little bow. Our not things get blown up. The TARDIS returns, and after a short little mix-up between the 2 Donnas, the Doctor and Donna escape, and they return to Earth.
Well, they do have a little bit of a conversation in the TARDIS. I think it kind of alludes to maybe the not things will return, because the Doctor says about how he didn't think that was a good idea with the salt, adding like a superstition at the end of the universe. And I mean, it might go nowhere, but I think it's sort of set open for if they do want to bring them back, because I know like Rusty Davis is big into sort of setting up a villain, and then like next series out he'll reuse his own monsters again. And I think they were all. I think you probably could do it. You could do another one with them.
You could do like a Doctor Who.
I don't think much was ever explained.
Episode.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what this
really
was.
Cool.
But then they go to Earth, and that's fun. I like that. They go to
Earth, and we bump into Milf again.
Oh, what a guy!
What a guy! And we find that something is happening, that like the world is going crazy.
That. See, that's what Rusty Davis is good at, like world invasions and showing like on a human like level, what it's like the Earth being invaded, like regular people reacting to it. He always does like news reports, like, and so seeing it back and the people of London are reacting to something. Great. That's where he thrives.
Did he do the ghost episode? The ghosts, the Cybermen.
Yeah.
And so this leads into I haven't seen any of the trailers for this. I've seen the poster of Barney. This is canonically a crossover with How I Met Your Mother. So Barney is coming in and he's giving pickup lessons to the Doctor. Is that right?
Yeah. For 60 minutes, and then he regenerates.
Yeah.
Because he realizes he can't pull anyone, so he's like, well, I'm going to turn into Shooty Gatwa. I need to be a younger, better looking man.
Take the bro code and go and pull throughout the universe. He's entered He's the first one to
regenerate after embarrassment. Yes, the Toy Maker. I need to finish watching the Celestial Toy Maker. It's basically the Celestial Toy Maker is an episode from 1965ish, something like that. I think
good
it's
year that. Good year.
Yeah. And it's most of it's lost. As you may be aware, the BBC were like it was before like repeats on TV were a thing, or like DVDs or VHS. So they were like, well, we're never going to show these ever again. So they just wiped the tapes and reused them.
Oh my god!
So loads of 60s Doctor Who's missing, and sometimes it gets found. Like people like recorded it or like have copies of it, but loads of them's missing. So the first 3 or 4 episodes of the Celestial Toy Maker are missing, and there's animated reconstructions of some episodes, but not this one. So you can watch like screen grabs with the narration over and some text saying what's happening, and that's it.
Great.
So of all the like past villains to return, it's strange how it's one that is from like barely an episode. And so I watched the first part and it wasn't very good, and I will try and watch the rest before, but I don't think it's going to have any relation to it whatsoever, to be completely honest.
I doubt it.
I think it's just the name's the same, and he's a fella who likes playing tricks on people.
Oh, that's like you. That's how I would describe you.
Yeah, that's me. I think he basically seems like the Joker, but Doctor Who.
Do you think he'll say the line?
Yeah, I'm the Toy Maker, baby.
That's so exciting. I actually can't wait now. Roll on Saturday. I really enjoyed the episode.
What did you think about it?
More than the last one.
That's weird. That's what everyone's saying, and I personally preferred the first one. I thought the dialogue was heavy-handed in the first one, but I think for the most part it was a pretty fun episode, and I got more out of seeing the characters again. Like, it felt like I was seeing Donna again, and it felt like I was seeing, and I love seeing like her family. And this felt a bit more like, it just felt like a big finish, like audio they were doing.
But if we were using Letterboxd rankings for this, what would you give it?
Well, so on Letterboxd, I think I gave it about 2 stars because it is on Letterboxd? It is. Yeah.
Oh.
When the special Doctor Who specials are, and classic Doctor Who are, because when I first watched it, I wanted a big 60th anniversary special, and I didn't get that. I got a Monster of the Week mid-series episode, and so I was frustrated.
It's literally
with
mid-series.
It is, okay, but mid-proper series, not 3 episodes. So I was really let down by it, but on reflection, I think it should have been a lot scarier. I think the cinematography really wasn't it. I think the direction also. Yeah. I think it should have just been, honestly, if you're doing a horror thing, like, I know it's like the easiest thing to do, but if you make it darker, like, it is scarier. Yeah. If they just had like a lot of shadows, and if you saw the Doctor being all contortionist and creepy and like the limbs being wrong in shadows, like barely seeing it, that would have been really scary. But seeing in like bright lights, like the worst CGI you've ever seen, it doesn't work.
100%.
So I think if they shot it as a horror, and I got the impression the director has never done a horror ever before. And
there's a reason why The Thing isn't set like that.
Yeah, on a really bright white spaceship.
Presented like that. Yeah. Although it is set in the snow, which is bright white.
It is, but it's set at night.
But you go out there when it's dark. Yeah.
So I think, if they shot it as a horror, it would have worked. And now, admittedly, I'm not a child, so
true.
No Doctor Who scares me. But as a kid, Talons of Wing Chiang bringing up again, great episode, very racist, but it's a great episode. Mr. Sin scared the shit out of me, and the Weeping Angels, terrifying also. And the silence are quite scary in Day of the Moon.
Yeah.
So maybe this would be scary for children, but for me, I think they could have done more. I really don't know what I'd rate it. I might watch it again when we're reviewing The Giggle, and we'll talk about it. But probably like about 3-ish.
We can talk about all 3 next week anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'd probably give it about 3 stars, 3.5 possibly. We'll see.
Yeah, I think in terms of modern Doctor Who, I would give this a very solid 3.5. It didn't make me sad.
It didn't,
which is more than I can say about the majority of episodes I've seen past David Tennant. Great. Oh well, I think we're pretty much on the same page about this, which is I'm very surprised about. I thought we were going to be different ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, I think you're more. I think it's just because I had so many expectations, and it wasn't what I wanted, but it wasn't bad.
Fair enough. I think they are all very valid thoughts, very valid points, and
I know they are because I'm clever.
How it progresses next week. I hope next week is going to be a more ambitious swing.
I think it will be. There seems like there's a lot happening. And I can't wait. I think it looks great. It's been the one I've been looking forward to the most of the 3 since the trailer. So,
you said that this Saturday coming up is the day you're most excited for, even more so than your wedding and the birth of your first child.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's not controversial. It's Doctor Who.
As much as your divorce.
It's the Doctor Who How I Met Your Mother crossover. I've been waiting for this my whole life.
How I Met the Doctor.
Yeah.
Very excited. Well, thank you very much. Can you do the Ubi for the outro, and I'll do the bum ba dum ba dum.
Okay.
Should we give that a go?
Let's give it a go.
See if it works the second time.
It didn't work the first time.
All right. Do you want me to count in, or do you want me to go for it?
No, just go for it. Just go for it. Right. But, it's fine because my Ui comes in after you anyway.
True. Bum ba dum 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 ba
dum. Right, that'll do.
Fade out into nothingness.